I'm going to go ahead and get us into our presentation. So I'm going to welcome YouTube. What's up? What's up with YouTube? I am Allie Kravitz, aka the Bronx Witch. I am the founder and owner of Witchwork, the only co-working space for spiritual practitioners in the Bronx, and the CEO of BetterWitch Coaching. I teach baby witches how to become better witches on topics related to spirituality and spiritual entrepreneurship with classes and coaching programs. And right now you are getting a clip of our weekly refuel sessions, which are our weekly group coaching sessions that go down in the bunker. The bunker is my private membership group for spiritual entrepreneurs and the professionals that help us. And we come together every Friday at 12 noon to learn more about how to run our businesses, because we are experts when it comes to our spiritual practices, but may not know enough about turning those practices into businesses that allow us to survive and thrive and continue to do this work. So that's my mission. That's my passion, to help as many spiritual practitioners as possible to be able to do the work that they do, because they have found out and figured out how to monetize those skills and how to bring value to others. So let's see here. I'm going to put that up instead because we just did our intros. So much love to the bunker witches that are in the room. I want to get into today's topic, which is all about tax write-offs. Can I write that off? Now, before we get into anything, I want to say huge disclaimer. Okay, I am not a tax professional. I am not a certified tax anything. And anything that I share with you in this video is not to be taken as tax advice. I encourage all of you to speak to certified bookkeepers and accountants, tax strategists, etc., in order to make decisions about taxes for your business. The good news is, while I am not a tax expert, I know a couple. And I want to let you all know that next week's refuel session is going to be led by one of our bunker members, Karen Gargiso, also known as the Money Witch. She's a certified bookkeeper and IRS representative, and she's going to be leading the refuel next week and going to be answering our questions and telling us a little bit more about some of the common no-nos, the common mistakes that she sees as a bookkeeper that spiritual practitioners tend to make. Because as a bookkeeper, her job is to come in and make sense of all your numbers and clean everything up and get it ready for your tax preparer. So she is somebody who definitely sees the messy finances before they're all cleaned up, before they're all properly organized and categorized. So she's going to tell us about some of the big no-nos that she sees us making so that we can not do that, and make sure that our finances are organized and tidy and that they make sense so that we can make the most of the tax benefits that are out there for businesses. And that's one of the reasons why I really want us to understand the tax system as best as we can, because you might be leaving thousands of dollars on the table by not itemizing your taxes and writing off the expenses that you have. If you are doing anything in exchange for money, readings, healing sessions, meditations, sound bowl sessions, etc., there are going to be expenses related to that. Okay, even if they are fairly minor expenses, but you might be paying for a video editor to make your content and marketing yourself. You might be paying for an email campaign platform to send emails to people. You might be paying for a website. You might be paying for materials like tarot decks and sound bowls and filming equipment. And all of these things potentially could be write offs for you that could entitle you to tax credits and some money back at the end of the year. So even if what you do is a quote unquote side hustle, it is super, super important that you structure yourself and prepare yourself properly so that you can take advantage of those credits that might be owed to you. Okay. So that is why I wanted to cover this topic. And I also made us a handy guide to make this even easier for us. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up on the screen. I created a business expenses checklist for us. If you are a Bunker member, I just put the download into the Bunker feed in the practical stuff section, I believe. So you are able to go and download this and keep it for yourself. But basically, I have listed some of the most common expenses that could be write-offs for you that you definitely want to know about. And if you're ever wondering to yourself, like, oh, I wonder if I can write that off, this is a helpful list of what some of those write-offs are, as well as tips to make sure that you are actually able to claim them at the end of the year. Because if you don't record them properly, if you don't, take certain steps, even though they were a business expense, you might not be able to claim them. So this guide will help you out there for sure. Okay. So what is a write-off exactly? If you don't know what I'm talking about, a write off by the IRS definition is an ordinary and necessary cost associated with operating your business that can be deducted from the income that you made in that business. And so basically, it reduces any write off that you have, is something related to operating your business that qualifies as not everything that you pay for in your business is a potential write off. It has to fall into one of these categories and a few others. But they are expenses that will be deducted from your overall total that you make over the year, which will then also reduce how much you owe in taxes. Because basically, you will pay taxes on a smaller amount of income as a result of these expenses being taken out of that. Okay. So that's what a write off is. Hold on. I'm moving I have a digital notebook, which is really fabulous, but it also means you can't turn the page. So you have to get it to do its digital thing. And it doesn't want to move. Here we go. So the checklist is available for download. If you're in the Bunker, it's already just in the Bunker and you can just click on it and download it. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube or somewhere else, if you are interested in this checklist, you can download it inside of the class portal. It is totally free. So you can just keep it as a helpful guide for you. So let's look at some of these expenses, because there are definitely some of these that are really going to apply to my witches and my witchpreneurs for sure. So first of all, when it comes to our operating expenses, I think a lot of these are fairly straightforward. If you are renting a space, maybe you're renting a studio to do your Reiki sessions or your yoga classes, then the rent that you pay and any other utilities in order to operate that space could potentially be a write-off for you. If you are paying salaries out to folks, maybe you have an assistant, maybe you have a virtual assistant, maybe you are contracting someone to help you with your content or write your blog articles. These are also potential operating expenses. And this is true whether the person who is working for you is an employee, an actual W-4 employee, or if they are a contractor, meaning you just hire them for specific tasks when you need them. All of those expenses related to that could be write-offs for you. Your supplies could also be written off expenses. So if you have office supplies you need to get, pens and paper or printer paper, ink, boxes for your shipping and labels for your shipping, stamps and things of that nature. If you're making products and sending things out, then the supplies associated with making those products are also falling under operating expenses. Insurance is an operating expense. In some cases, you might be required to have insurance. If you are renting a location like I am for witch work, we're required to have insurance. And that monthly payment to keep that policy active is an expense that can be written off. When it comes to advertising and marketing, you have the ability to write off pretty much everything that is associated with your advertising or your marketing efforts. So, whether that is content creation, expenses associated with making content, making videos, and posts to market yourself, ads that you purchase, meta ads, Google ads, ads in your local newspaper, when you file your LLC, there is a requirement to take out ads and advertise that you have just opened a business, and so the expenses associated with that can be written off potentially in your write-offs. One of my favorite like marketing write-offs, and one of the reasons why you see me wearing so much merch, is that clothing is no longer considered a write-off. Clothing for business is no longer considered a write-off, but there are some ways in which you can have your clothing still count as a write-off. And branded merchandise, even though it is clothing, can fall under the marketing category if it is branded with your business name. So keep that in mind. If you're ever wondering, like, gosh, Bronxwitch is always wearing like one of her like brand names. That is one of the reasons. If I need, hoodies for the wintertime, I need some sweatpants, I need a new tote bag, I need, some t-shirts or something like that. If I have to get those things anyway, I might as well go ahead and get them made with my designs on them, my logos on them, so that I can write them off. Because without that, they wouldn't necessarily be a write offable expense, even though I may have bought them in order to be like, dressed at work, dressed in my business. So keep that in mind. How you market yourself can come in a lot of different forms. And as long as you can show that that is related to marketing your business, it might be something that you can write off. Photo shoots for your website or for your digital products, for your social media pages, etc., can fall under the category of marketing expenses. And even some of the things that you do associated with that photo shoot. So I did a rebranding photo shoot at one point, and I needed to buy clothing. I needed to get my hair done. I needed to get my nails done, etc. And these are all things that I wouldn't be doing every day. These were not associated with my everyday personal maintenance and upkeep. They were specific for this branding photo shoot. And so I was able to include all of those items and expenses that I had incurred getting ready for that photo shoot. And again, this is not tax advice. I am not saying that these things will be approved as write-offs for your taxes. That is something you're going to talk to your tax preparer about, and make sure to document so that it's very clear that these are associated with your marketing efforts to increase the chances that you can write those things off, but they potentially could be. So, definitely keep that in mind. You may be spending money to get the word out that you have started a business and not realize that the costs associated with getting the word out, all the way down to wearing your own brand names, could potentially be expenses that you could get some credits for, get some money back for. Okay. Your accounting and your legal fees our business expenses. So hiring a bookkeeper, hiring an accountant, hiring a lawyer to help you to structure your business or to help you to navigate deals or contracts that you are making with people, to write contracts for you, etc. Many of these things are going to fall into your operating expenses. Now, not all legal fees are counted. There are some associated with like buying property and things like that that wouldn't be counted. But for the everyday expenses of your average spiritual entrepreneur, things that you would hire an attorney or an accountant for would all be expenses that you would be able to write off. So I think that's really good news for us because accounting and legal fees can be quite high. If you're trademarking your name, you might be spending $2,500 on that. If you hire an attorney to do that for you, if you are hiring a bookkeeper to keep track of your expenses every month, you could end up spending a few thousands of dollars of that on that by the end of the year. And so, because those costs can be pretty high, it is definitely nice that those are write offs that you can get some money back for. Okay. Some bank fees are also operating expenses, not all. So late fees and things like that typically are not included in operating expenses, but you might have some fees associated with maintaining the account or working with a banker to process loan applications or things of that nature, and those fees might be considered operating expenses. And then finally is the depreciation and the value of the assets that your business owns. So if you are someone that does a lot of driving for your work, maybe you are a traveling tarot reader, you do events, you do retreats, and you are driving. If you have your car in your business name, the loss in value on that car every year could be an expense. Is basically your vehicle is losing value because it's being used in your business. And so the IRS says, okay, well, by the time you have to sell that off or get rid of it, or it just stops running, you're going to experience a loss. This thing is going down in value. So it's almost the same as like making payments every month, or every year rather. So the depreciation, the amount that your asset goes down in value every year, can also be considered an operating expense that you might be able to write off. Okay. Another big category for spiritual practitioners is travel expenses. Many of us don't have a home location that we work out of. We might be going to people's homes. We might be attending conferences in order to network and things of that nature. We might need to travel in order to render our services. Maybe we have someone outside of the state that would like us to come and do a home cleansing or teach a class. And any expenses related to business travel can be written off. So this includes your flights, a certain percentage of your mileage. This might include, a hotel stay, and things of that nature. Your business meals, whether you're traveling or not, can be written off. Typically, there are some restrictions on this. There are some things that have changed about that. You're usually not able to write off all of your business meals. So, first of all, if you are just buying like lunch every day or dinner every day because you're working on your business, that doesn't count. So, whether you're buying groceries and making meals for yourself, or you're ordering takeout, or you're going out to eat, or what have you, even though you might be doing that in the course of your workday, even though you might be spending money that you wouldn't be spending if you were working for someone else or you were at home, those typically do not count. But if you have, let's say, a business meeting that involves providing food for yourself and your team, or someone that you're looking to work with, maybe you are trying to collaborate with somebody, or get them to invest in you in some way, and you want to take them to dinner to talk about it, out to coffee to meet them. In those cases, those business meals might be a write off, but typically only up to 50% of what is spent is going to be counted. So keep that in mind when maybe splurging on dinner with a potential colleague or potential partner, etc. In a similar fashion, business gifts might be able to be written off. You might gift the people that you are working with a little something. I've had, for example, like my accountant that I used to have would send out like a little Christmas or a little holiday card and a little gift for the holidays. And I would imagine that she was able to write those off. There are limits on that. It's very small. I think it's only $25 of value per gift you're able to write off. So this is not, buying a car for somebody or something like that in your business name. But little thank you gifts when somebody, spoke on your panel or attended your event or something like that, a holiday card, something of that nature. Those things and the cost associated with buying those things can be written off. And then another common one is your vehicle expenses. So I mentioned your mileage, a percentage of the miles that you drive might be able to be written off. You are supposed to track your mileage, your vehicle mileage, and be like really clear which miles are being used for business travel versus personal travel. Because obviously people usually use, both their car for both business and for personal. So you're supposed to track when you use your car for a business purpose. I imagine, I don't drive, but you would potentially need to prove that you were actually going to business meetings or going to the studio where you're teaching your classes or what have you, in order to document that and make sure you're all in the clear. But expenses related to your mileage, as well as expenses related to the upkeep of your vehicle, can also potentially be write-offs. A cool thing to consider, and I don't know much about this, so again, if this is you, and we'll definitely do a Q&A at the end for the bunker witches. I see some questions coming in. So we'll take those questions at the end. But I am not an expert on this. I don't even drive. I don't own a vehicle. Okay, so I am the last person to be getting expert knowledge on this. But I will tell you that I do have some colleagues and friends who have put wraps on their cars in order to brand their vehicles as a business vehicle. First of all, that's just great marketing. Okay, one of the lawyers in the neighborhood has done that, and he's usually parked on the block in front of Witchwork. And I'm like, that is so cool and so smart, because, like, why not? It's the same idea of, wearing your own stuff. And here's what I suspect about that. I don't know this for sure. Speak with your tax professionals. But what I suspect is the reason why savvy business owners will wrap their car is because then, if you are driving around for a personal reason, you are still marketing while you are doing that. And my suspicion is that that might make all of the use of the vehicle write-offable. So not just when you're going specifically to a business meeting, but even just driving around, now you're marketing for yourself. And so maybe now all of your mileage and all of your use of the vehicle is going to be a write-off. I don't know that for sure. Okay, but that is my suspicion of why I see some people decide to do it. And even if they're not able to write that off, it is just good marketing, right? I'm going to remember that lawyer's name and his number forever because I've just seen the car all the time. So it's definitely a good tip if you don't mind driving around in a car that has like, your logo on it. So, some other expenses that you want to think about are the interest payments on business loans. So, if you have gotten a business loan or you're considering to apply for one, the loan itself is not a write off. That's money that you're given, and then you just have to pay that back. So I don't know that that would fall into the category of like ordinary and necessary operations of your business, but the interest rates, the interest payments that you make on the business loans might be something that you can write off. This is a big one for the spiritual practitioners in the room. I would say, first of all, the supplies one is a big one for like my tarot readers and, my diviners. Like some of us have big tarot card collections and we just keep buying more and more and more tarot decks, right? But if you are using those tarot decks to render your readings, you could be writing those off. So that's a big one that I want to make sure you guys think about. But another big one is the home office expense. Most of you are working from home. I do most of my work from Witchwork, but most of you are working from home. So you may have dedicated an entire portion of your home, a quarter of your home, half of your home to operating your business. You might have set aside a space where you record YouTube videos or your classes. If you're doing virtual classes, you might have a section of your home that you bring people into for readings, for healing sessions, etc. That portion of your space is considered your home office, or it can be if you set it up properly and document it properly and talk to your tax professional about how to do that and how much of it would qualify. But this is a big one that a lot of people don't think about, especially because if I recall correctly doing this with my tax preparer for myself, there's like a whole separate form that you have to fill out for this. It's not necessarily right on your basic itemizing form. So it's definitely important to keep that in mind and let your tax preparer know that you are using your home as your office and that you have designated a specific place for that to happen, because essentially there's a credit that could be applied for using your home to run your business. Okay. And I'm going to jump to the last one on the list because it's related to your home office. So your equipment and software can also be a part of that. So if you are buying lighting equipment, if you are buying a printer, different types of equipment to run your home office, those can be written off. And then the software that you are using to run your business. Like right now, I'm streaming on StreamYard. That is a software that I'm able to write off because I use it for my webinars and for teaching and group sessions and all of that good stuff. So the equipment and the software that you are using can also potentially be a write-off for you. Now, not on this list are some things that are not write-offable expenses that I just wanted to mention really quickly, just to give you a heads up about some things that you might think would fall into these categories, but actually don't. The first one I want to mention is clothing. With the asterisk, with the caveat that I mentioned earlier, that branded material is different. That could fall under your marketing efforts. But the clothes that you buy in order to, not be nude every day when you go to teach your classes, if you're a yoga instructor and you're buying yoga pants and outfits and things of that nature, even though you are using them while conducting your business, unfortunately, those do not count. Also, what does not count are entertainment expenses. So we talked about business meals, we talked about business gifts, and you might be under the impression that if you take your, your virtual assistant and your marketing team to a sport game for like, morale building or something like that, or you gift somebody with a concert ticket. Or if you're thinking that you can turn entertainment like vacations and things like that into business trips, into business gifts by talking about business while you do them. That used to be a thing, but it is not a thing anymore. And my understanding is we have President Trump to thank for that, who in 2017 changed the tax cuts that small businesses can take advantage of and eliminated the clothing and the entertainment tax write-off. So, yeah. Anywho, just throwing that out there. Donations are not included in your expenses. So you might be asked to donate to a charity, and you might be thinking, hey, I will donate under my business name, and then that'll be a write-offable expense. It is not. And political contributions and donations of any kind are not write-offs. And then fees and fines. So we talked about like your vehicle expenses, we talked about your travel expenses, we talked about bank fees. But fees and fines like late fees or parking tickets, speeding tickets, and things of that nature, even though you might get them while conducting business, even though you might get them from a business account, they also do not count. Okay. So, some tips on how to actually claim these things, because yes, you're paying for this stuff, but what do I do with all of it? How do I get anything back for them? The first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're paying for these things properly so that it's very clear that it is, in fact, a business expense. The first thing that you want to do is to make your business purchases from a business account. So if you haven't already opened a business bank account, I very much encourage you to do that. You might also get a business credit card. I also encourage you to do that and build your business credit profile. But whenever you are making a purchase related to your business, the best practice is to make that purchase from a business account. So if there's not enough money in your business account, you might transfer from your personal account into your business account and then make the purchase. And you can talk to your tax professional about what it means to transfer money from your personal into your business. For example, maybe you work a 9 to 5 and you're using your income to help to pay for your business expenses while your business grows, which is a very, very common thing to do. That is considered an investment in your business, and there are ways for you to document that and show that. So talk to your tax professional about that. But at the end of the day, making your business purchases from your business account is a good practice. You also want to maintain receipts for the things that you have purchased. Because I tell you, at the end of the year, you are not going to remember what that $33 charge was in February on your personal account. So make sure that you are keeping your receipts, especially if you pay for an item in cash or you pay for an item with your personal account. So let's say you forget to transfer, or for whatever reason you're not able to do that, and you have no choice but to make the purchase from your personal account, or maybe you just forgot and you used the wrong card when you were buying something or signing up for a subscription. What you want to do is have that receipt so that your bookkeeper can see that it's a business expense, but it got taken out of a personal account, so they can still count it in your list of expenses. All of this requires that you keep detailed records of your transactions. And you can do that with an accounting software such as QuickBooks, which is the most popular. But if you're at the level where you're not yet ready to invest, because obviously QuickBooks, it's not free, accounting softwares are not free. So if you're maybe not yet at the point where you can afford that, or you want to, take that expense on, you can track your finances yourself, track your transactions yourself, and you just want to be really, really detailed about it. So this is not like, scribbling notes on paper or something like that. We're talking about creating a spreadsheet, that's organized by the month, maybe even by the week, where you detailed down to the penny, record everything that you are spending in each of the different categories that you are spending in. If you are one of my one on one clients and you know that I have created a spreadsheet that I make available to each of you, if you're in the 6 week program or you are in the 6 months to six figure program, then I make my CEO dashboard spreadsheet available to you. That spreadsheet allows you to track your income, to track your expenses, but it also will automatically calculate a budget for you. And I think this is probably the best feature of that spreadsheet. So if you are wondering to yourself, like, how much money can I actually afford to be spending on getting this business up and running? That spreadsheet will calculate that and tell you exactly what your budget is and whether or not you are within that budget for the month. So that's helpful. So I make sure that my clients have what they need in order to track their expenses really, really well, before they, maybe upgrade to an accounting software or get a bookkeeper to start tracking it for them. Okay. But however you do it, make sure that you create a detailed way to keep track of all of these things. And then finally, you're going to want to file an itemized tax return, because at the end of the day, if you're not itemizing your taxes, then there's nowhere for you to tell the IRS that you have these expenses. So up until you start operating a business, you might be doing a simple tax return, probably electronically, where it basically just asks you what's on your W-4, your taxes from your job. You basically just repeat what the IRS already knows, which is like so annoying. But anyway, you basically just tell them what they already know, about how much you made from your employers for the year. And then they tell you if you owe, and they tell you if you get something back, right? So that's just like a simple tax return. There's nowhere on a simple tax return to tell the IRS that you have these expenses. If you would like to claim these expenses, then you are going to have to file an itemized tax return. And I believe it's a Schedule C for most of us that we would be adding to our taxes, where we are able to actually put in all of these categories that we just talked about: operating expenses, travel expenses, other expenses. You basically get to tell them in each of these categories how much you spent for the year. And then those numbers are used to decrease your overall income and potentially decrease how much money you owe, or maybe even entitle you to a refund. So that is important to keep in mind. Just spending the money isn't enough. You have to also itemize your taxes in order to tell the IRS that you spent that money. And itemizing your taxes does cost more. So when you're filing your taxes, your simple filing, in some cases might be free. There are programs that will do it for you for free, banks and things like that that will do free, simple e-filings. You might be using an online platform that charges a small fee to help you do it, but it's usually not very expensive. When you itemize your taxes, it does cost to do that itemization. It does cost to add extra forms onto your return. So there is going to be a cost involved with itemizing. And this is one of the reasons why talking to a tax preparer is about your specific circumstances is going to be important, because if the amount of money that you could get back from your expenses is so low that filing an itemized tax return is more, then it just might not be worth it. But typically, the amount that you are going to reduce your income by makes it worth it to pay the extra to itemize your tax returns. But that is the only way to have your business expenses actually reduce your overall income for the year and potentially reduce your tax bill. All right, witches. All right. So It is time for me to answer some questions from the Bunker Witches. I already see that some have been dropped down into the chat. So I am going to say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube, I want to remind you that you can be a part of these free weekly group coaching sessions that go down every Friday at 12 noon in the Bunker just by joining us. The Bunker is free to join for the first 7 days, and there is a link down in the description to take you over to the Bunker space where you can enroll and join us. In addition to these weekly group coaching sessions, we are also engaging in discussion. We're sharing spells and tips and recommendations for money magic and improving our businesses. We're sharing grant information and funding information, and just basically getting to know each other so that we're not all out here trying to do this spiritual entrepreneur thing by ourselves. And the diversity of the Bunker is the thing I'm the most proud of, because it's not just a bunch of tarot readers trying to figure it out. We have experienced professionals that are also Bunker members. We have lawyers, we have accountants, we have SEO and digital marketing experts and graphic designers and people with just a whole host of certifications and expertise. So rather than navigating through Google and Instagram, trying to find a lawyer, trying to find a bookkeeper, being in the Bunker means you have at your disposal people that you know that care about spiritual businesses and are spiritual themselves, that you can reach out to. And one of those Bunker members, Karen Gargiso, also known as the Money Witch, is going to be leading the weekly refuel next week. She's going to be talking all about common mistakes and no-nos that she sees her spiritual practitioner clients making when they are handling their finances for themselves and tracking their finances for themselves. So if the information I provided raised questions for you, that I am not qualified to answer. She is a certified IRS representative as well. And so she can answer a lot of questions about tracking your finances, filing your taxes, and things like that. So definitely make sure to get into the Bunker and be there for next week's weekly refuel. All right, witches, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Blessed be.